Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract money effortlessly while others constantly struggle with scarcity? Why some are born into prosperous families and others into situations of lack? The answer isn't in luck, it isn't in external circumstances, it isn't in destiny. The answer lies in something much deeper and more powerful: your abundance identity. Today you're going to discover the secret that the world's most successful millionaires know but rarely share. You're going to learn how to transform your fundamental identity from a person who struggles for money to a person who is naturally prosperous. You're going to understand why repeating, "My life is wonderful and filled with abundance," isn't just positive thinking, but quantum reprogramming of your financial reality. In the next 80 minutes, we're going to dive into the complete universe of millionaire identity. You'll discover how Florence Scovel Shinn taught about the divine nature of wealth, how modern science confirms the power of affirmations, and how ordinary people have completely transformed their financial lives simply by changing who they believe they are at a fundamental level. But before we continue, I want you to do something with me. Close your eyes for a moment and ask yourself honestly, who am I in relation to money? Don't tell me what you want to be. Don't tell me what you hope to become. Tell me who you believe you are right now, in the deepest part of your being, when it comes to wealth and abundance. Do you see yourself as someone who naturally attracts prosperity? Or do you see yourself as someone who has to struggle for every dollar? Do you feel deserving of large amounts of money? Or do you feel that wealth is for others, not for you? Do you believe you were born to be prosperous? Or do you believe abundance is something you have to conquer against all odds? Your answer to these questions reveals your current abundance identity. And your abundance identity is the most important factor determining your financial reality, not your skills, not your education, not your family background, not external economic conditions, your identity. Let me explain why this is so crucial. Your identity is like a computer's operating system. Everything you experience in your financial life is filtered through this operating system. If your identity is programmed for scarcity, you'll interpret every situation from that perspective. If your identity is programmed for abundance, you'll see opportunities where others see obstacles. Think of it this way. Two people can be in the exact same financial situation, but one sees themselves as temporarily without money, while the other sees themselves as poor. The first person will actively seek ways to improve their situation because their identity isn't aligned with lack. The second person will accept scarcity as their normal reality because their identity is aligned with limitation. Florence Scovel Shinn understood this deeply. She taught that man is what he believes he is. If you believe you're naturally prosperous, you'll experience natural prosperity. If you believe you're someone who struggles with money, you'll experience constant financial struggle. It's not abstract philosophy, it's universal law in action. This law works in a very specific way. Your identity determines your habitual thoughts. Your habitual thoughts determine your habitual emotions. Your habitual emotions determine your habitual actions. And your habitual actions determine your habitual results. Everything begins with identity. When you declare, "My life is wonderful and filled with abundance," you're not trying to convince the universe of something that isn't true. You're remembering and reclaiming a fundamental truth about your nature. You're aligning with who you really are at the soul level, an infinitely creative being with unlimited access to universal abundance. But here's what most people don't understand. Your current identity isn't your true identity. Your current identity is a collection of beliefs, programs, and conditioning you've acquired throughout your life. Many of these programs were installed when you were a child, when your conscious mind didn't have the capacity to filter or question the information you received. If you grew up hearing phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," "We're working people, not rich," "Rich people are bad," "You have to suffer to earn money," your subconscious mind recorded these beliefs as absolute truths about the nature of money and your relationship with it. These beliefs became part of your identity without you consciously choosing them. And now, as an adult, these beliefs continue operating automatically, creating experiences that confirm their validity. It's a self-perpetuating cycle until you decide to consciously interrupt it. Let me tell you something that completely changed my understanding about wealth. I met a man named Eduardo who was born in extreme poverty. His family lived in a slum. His father had abandoned the home when he was a child. His mother worked 3 jobs just to put food on the table. According to all statistics, Eduardo was destined to perpetuate the cycle of poverty. But at 16, Eduardo found a Florence Scovel Shinn book in a public library. He read about the power of identity, about the divine nature of abundance, about every human being's birthright to prosperity. And he made a decision that changed everything. He decided to change his fundamental identity. What Eduardo did was revolutionary for someone in his situation. Instead of accepting that his environment determined his destiny, he decided that his identity would determine his reality. He began obsessively studying prosperous people, not to copy their external strategies, but to understand their internal mindset. He began repeating every day, "I am worthy of being a millionaire and successful. I was born to be a rich and prosperous being. Wealth is my divine right." At first, the words felt false, even ridiculous. His external reality completely contradicted what he was declaring. But Eduardo persisted. Eduardo understood something very few people comprehend: that real transformation begins from the inside out, not from the outside in. He didn't wait to have money to feel prosperous. He felt prosperous to attract money. He didn't wait for circumstances to change his identity. He changed his identity to change circumstances. Something extraordinary began to happen. First, his way of walking, talking, presenting himself to the world changed. He began acting like someone who was naturally prosperous, even when he had no money. He started seeing opportunities where before he only saw obstacles. His mind opened to possibilities he couldn't even imagine before. Eduardo began asking different questions. Instead of asking, "Why am I poor?" he began asking, "How can I create value for others?" Instead of focusing on what he didn't have, he focused on what he could offer. Instead of seeing his situation as a limitation, he saw it as motivation to create something extraordinary. Today, 30 years later, Eduardo is a multimillionaire. He has built a business empire that employs thousands of people. But the most notable thing isn't his external wealth, but his internal transformation. He literally became a different person, a person whose fundamental identity is abundance. As Eduardo told me, "It wasn't that I became rich and then changed my identity. I changed my identity and then became rich." External wealth was simply the reflection of the internal wealth I had cultivated. This understanding is absolutely revolutionary. Most people believe they first have to get money to feel prosperous. But the truth is exactly the opposite. First, you have to feel prosperous to attract money. First, you have to become someone who is naturally abundant to experience natural abundance. This isn't magical thinking or fantasy. It's deep understanding of how human reality works. Your internal state determines your external experience. Your internal identity creates your external reality. Your internal consciousness manifests your external circumstances. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that wealth is a state of consciousness. When you develop wealth consciousness, when your fundamental identity is abundance, money becomes a natural consequence, not a constant struggle. But let me be very clear about something important. Changing your identity isn't simply repeating affirmations mechanically. It's a deep transformation process that involves your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, your nervous system, and your complete energetic field. Identity transformation requires what psychologists call constructive cognitive dissonance. This means creating conscious tension between who you are now and who you're choosing to become. This tension is uncomfortable at first, but it's exactly what drives real change. When you say, "I multiply my wealth in everything I do," you're not trying to convince yourself of something you don't believe. You're training your mind to recognize the truth of your creative nature. You're reprogramming decades of limiting conditioning. You're aligning your personal vibration with the vibration of universal abundance. Your subconscious mind is like an extraordinarily powerful quantum computer. For years, decades even, it has been running scarcity programs. Money is hard to get. I have to work hard to earn money. Wealth is for others, not for me. I don't deserve abundance. I'm poor and always will be. These programs aren't your truth. They're conditioning you've received from your family, your culture, your society. But they've been running automatically, creating experiences of financial limitation over and over. It's like having a virus in your computer that makes it run slowly, no matter how hard you try. The good news is you can change these programs. You can install a new operating system based on abundance. You can rewrite the code of your financial reality. But it requires consistency, persistence, and faith in the process. When you repeat, "I am the most abundant creation I know," you're installing a new program. You're rewriting the code of your financial reality. You're training your subconscious mind to seek evidence of your natural abundance instead of evidence of your limitation. Neuroscientists have discovered something fascinating about brain neuroplasticity. Your brain literally reconfigures itself based on the thoughts and words you consistently repeat. Every time you declare, "I am the creator of my abundance and wealth," you're strengthening neural connections associated with creativity, personal power, and conscious manifestation. Dr. Joe Dispenza has demonstrated through thousands of brain scans that when you change your habitual thoughts about yourself, you change the physical structure of your brain. When you change your identity at a neurological level, you change your capacity to perceive and create opportunities for abundance. This means identity transformation isn't just a psychological or spiritual concept. It's a real physical process occurring in your brain. Every time you choose to think from abundance instead of scarcity, you're literally building new neural pathways that support that new reality. But the transformation goes beyond the brain. When you declare, "I am financially free for the rest of my life," you're sending a specific signal to your nervous system. Your nervous system begins calibrating for financial security instead of financial anxiety. Your body begins radiating the confidence and tranquility of someone who is naturally prosperous. Your nervous system cannot distinguish between a real experience and a vividly imagined experience. When you consistently visualize yourself as prosperous, when you feel the emotions of abundance, when you act from prosperity, your nervous system begins operating as if you were already that prosperous person. And here's something very few people understand. Your energetic field changes when you change your identity. When you really become someone who is an irresistible magnet for wealth, you literally begin magnetizing opportunities, people, and circumstances that are aligned with that identity. Quantum physics teaches us that everything in the universe is energy vibrating at different frequencies. When you change your identity, you change your vibrational frequency. When you change your frequency, you attract experiences that are in resonance with that new frequency. Florence Scovel Shinn taught about the magnetic power of consciousness. She understood that each person radiates a specific vibration based on their fundamental identity. When your identity is abundance, you radiate abundance, and abundance attracts more abundance. This isn't abstract theory. It's universal law you can observe in your own life. Think about the most prosperous people you know. Do you notice something different in their energy? In their way of speaking? In their way of walking? In their way of making decisions? That difference you perceive is their abundance identity in action. Let me tell you the story of Mariana, a woman I met a few years ago. Mariana worked as a secretary in a small company and earned just enough to cover her basic expenses. She had grown up in a lower middle-class family where money was always a source of worry and discussion. Mariana had deeply internalized the identity of person who struggles with money. She saw herself as someone who had to work hard for every dollar, who would never have real abundance, who wealth was for people more intelligent, more educated, more fortunate than her. What's interesting about Mariana is that she was extremely intelligent and talented. She had skills that could have been very valuable in the market, but her scarcity identity kept her invisible to opportunities. She didn't value herself, therefore others didn't value her either. When Mariana discovered Florence Scovel Shinn's teachings about abundance identity, initially she resisted the ideas. It seemed impossible that someone like her could become prosperous simply by changing her identity. But her financial pain was so great that she decided to experiment. Mariana began with something very simple but powerful. She changed the way she described herself. Instead of saying, "I'm just a secretary," she began saying, "I'm a valuable professional with unique skills." Instead of saying, "I'm not good with money," she began saying, "I'm learning to create abundance." She started with the most basic affirmation, "I deserve all wealth and abundance." The first time she said it, she felt ridiculous. Her rational mind immediately protested. How can you say you deserve wealth when you can't even pay your bills on time? But Mariana understood something crucial, that her rational mind had been programmed by years of limiting conditioning. She decided not to allow that old programming to determine her future. She decided to create new programming based on her unlimited potential. Every morning, for 30 minutes, she repeated a series of identity affirmations. I am worthy of being a millionaire and successful. I was born to be a rich and prosperous being. Abundance is a constant in my life. I am an open channel for infinite abundance. At first, the affirmations felt like lies. But Mariana persisted because she understood she was reprogramming decades of limiting conditioning. She knew real transformation requires time and consistency. Gradually, something began to change. Mariana noticed she started walking differently, talking differently, presenting herself differently in the world. She began acting like someone who was naturally prosperous, even when her bank account didn't reflect that reality. She started dressing better with the clothes she already had. She began speaking with more confidence in meetings. She started proposing ideas she would have previously kept to herself. She began valuing her time and skills differently. External changes began subtly. Her boss noticed a new confidence in her and offered her additional responsibilities. Mariana began seeing extra income opportunities she hadn't noticed before. She started attracting people who offered her business opportunities. But the deepest change was internal. Mariana realized she had stopped being someone who expected scarcity and had become someone who expected abundance. Her fundamental identity had changed from poor person to naturally prosperous person. This identity transformation changed everything in her life. She began making decisions from abundance instead of scarcity. She began seeing possibilities where before she saw limitations. She began acting from personal power instead of victimization. 2 years after beginning this practice, Mariana had left her job as a secretary and started her own consulting business. Her income had multiplied by 10. But more important than the money was the transformation of her being. She had literally become a different person. As Mariana explained to me, it wasn't that I got money and then felt prosperous. I became someone prosperous, and then money began flowing naturally toward me. I changed my identity, and my reality changed to match that new identity. This is the magic of identity transformation. When you really change who you are at a fundamental level, your external reality reorganizes to reflect that new identity. It's not supernatural magic, it's universal law in action. Reality always aligns with identity. If your identity is scarcity, you'll experience scarcity no matter how hard you try externally. If your identity is abundance, you'll experience abundance because your identity will create the conditions for that experience. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. When you think in your heart that you're naturally abundant, you become naturally abundant. When your core identity is prosperity, prosperity becomes your natural experience. But let me be very specific about how to apply this identity transformation effectively. It's not enough to repeat affirmations occasionally when you remember. You need to completely immerse yourself in your new identity until it becomes your automatic reality. Identity transformation requires what I call total immersion. This means you need to live, breathe, and be your new prosperous identity 24 hours a day. You can't be prosperous for 1 hour in the morning and then return to scarcity the rest of the day. Every morning, for at least 30 minutes, you're going to declare your new abundance identity. You're going to repeat affirmations like, "My life is wonderful and filled with abundance. I multiply my wealth in everything I do. I was born to be a rich and successful being. I am worthy of being a millionaire and prosperous. But you're not going to repeat them mechanically. You're going to feel every word. You're going to vividly visualize what your life would be like if these affirmations were completely true. You're going to act as if you were already that prosperous person you're declaring to be. Visualization is crucial in this process. When you vividly visualize your prosperous life, when you feel the emotions of abundance, when you experience the reality of your success in your imagination, you're training your subconscious mind to recognize that reality when it appears in the physical world. During the day, every time your mind tries to return to old scarcity patterns, you're immediately going to redirect your attention to your new identity. When thoughts arise like, "I can't afford that," or "money is scarce," you're immediately going to replace them with, "I am financially free and abundance flows toward me constantly." This conscious redirection is essential. Your mind has been operating with scarcity programs for years. These programs won't disappear automatically. You have to consciously intercept them and replace them with abundance programs. Before sleeping, you're going to spend another 30 minutes reinforcing your new identity. You're going to review the day from the perspective of your prosperous self. You're going to give thanks for all the evidence of abundance you experienced, no matter how small. This process of total immersion in your new identity is what creates real transformation. You can't maintain a scarcity identity for 22 hours a day and expect 2 hours of affirmations to change your reality. You have to live, breathe, and be your new prosperous identity. Florence Scovel Shinn taught about the importance of acting as if. She said, "Act as if it were impossible to fail." When you consistently act like someone who is naturally prosperous, the universe begins treating you like someone who is naturally prosperous. This means changing your way of walking, talking, dressing, making decisions. It doesn't mean spending money you don't have, but radiating the confidence and dignity of someone who knows they deserve abundance. Let me give you a very specific example. Imagine you're in a restaurant and have to decide what to order. The person with scarcity identity automatically looks at prices first and chooses the cheapest option, regardless of whether they really want it. The person with abundance identity first decides what they really want and then trusts they can afford it. This difference may seem small, but it's profoundly significant. Every decision you make from abundance reinforces your abundance identity. Every action you take from prosperity makes you more into someone prosperous. Another example, when someone with scarcity identity receives unexpected money, they immediately think of all the bills they have to pay. When someone with abundance identity receives unexpected money, they first celebrate the evidence that the universe is providing and then consciously decide how to use that money in a way that generates more abundance. Now, I want to address something you might be thinking. But what if I really don't have money now? How can I act as if I were prosperous when my current reality is scarcity? This is a very valid question, and the answer lies in understanding the difference between your temporary situation and your permanent identity. Your current financial situation is temporary and changeable. Your abundance identity is permanent and true. When you declare, "I am a being of infinite abundance," you're not denying your current situation. You're affirming your true nature. You're recognizing that your essence is abundant, even if your temporary experience is limitation. Think of it this way. If a millionaire lost all their money tomorrow, would they stop being a millionaire in their identity? No. They would know they can recreate their wealth because their abundance identity remains intact. Their situation would be temporary, but their identity would be permanent. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that man must be willing to give up what he has to receive what he wants. To receive abundance, you have to be willing to give up the identity of scarcity. To experience prosperity, you have to let go of the identity of poverty. This doesn't mean denying the practical reality of your current situation. It means not allowing your temporary situation to define your permanent identity. It means maintaining the vision of who you really are while navigating temporary circumstances. Let me tell you the story of Roberto, a man who lost everything in an economic crisis. Roberto had built a successful business for 20 years. but a severe recession led him to bankruptcy. He lost his house, his savings, his business. At 50, he found himself with nothing. Most people in that situation would have adopted the identity of victim of circumstances or ruined person. But Roberto had deeply studied Florence Scovel Shinn's teachings. He understood that his temporary situation didn't have to define his permanent identity. Roberto made a conscious decision that changed everything. He decided that his abundance identity was more real than his temporary situation of scarcity. He decided that who he was in his essence was more important than what he was experiencing in the moment. Every day, while looking for work and struggling with basic needs, Roberto repeated, "I am the most prosperous and happy person I know. Wealth flows toward me from all directions. I am a powerful magnet for abundance. This situation is temporary, but my abundant nature is eternal." At first, the affirmations felt like cruel mockery of his reality. But Roberto persisted. He maintained his abundance identity even in the midst of apparent scarcity. He acted like someone prosperous even when he had no money. Roberto understood something profound, that true wealth isn't in what you have, but in who you are. His real wealth was his abundance identity, his confidence in his ability to create value, his faith in the universe's provision. Something extraordinary began to happen. Despite his financial situation, Roberto radiated a confidence and dignity that attracted people. He began receiving job offers that normally wouldn't have been available for someone in his situation. Successful people began seeking his advice and mentorship. People felt attracted to Roberto because his energy didn't reflect victimization or desperation. It reflected confidence, wisdom, and unwavering faith in his ability to create abundance. His prosperity identity was stronger than his scarcity situation. In 2 years, Roberto had not only recovered his financial stability, but had built an even more successful business than before. But the most notable thing was that he had never lost his abundance identity, even in the most difficult moments. As Roberto explained to me, "I learned that true wealth isn't in what you have, but in who you are. I lost all my money, but I never lost my abundance identity. And because I maintained that identity, I could recreate external wealth faster than I had ever imagined." This understanding is absolutely crucial. Your abundance identity doesn't depend on your current financial situation. Your abundance identity is a conscious choice you make every moment, regardless of external circumstances. When you declare, "I love money's energy and money's energy loves me," you're establishing a loving relationship with abundance. You're recognizing that money is energy, and like all energy, it responds to love and gratitude. Most people have a complicated and conflicted relationship with money. They desire it, but resist it. They want it, but feel guilty for wanting it. They need it, but feel unworthy of having it. This conflicted relationship creates energetic resistance that blocks the flow of abundance. But when you genuinely love money's energy, when you appreciate its capacity to create freedom, opportunities, and contribution, you become a clear channel for its manifestation. Money, as conscious energy, feels attracted to those who love and appreciate it. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that love is the most powerful force in the universe. When you love abundance, when you love prosperity, when you love wealth in all its forms, you align with the most powerful force in the universe to manifest those experiences. Now, I want to give you a series of specific affirmations you can use to completely transform your abundance identity. These aren't just pretty words. They're powerful decrees that reprogram your subconscious mind and realign your energetic field. My life is wonderful and filled with infinite abundance. I multiply my wealth in everything I touch and everything I do. I was born to be a rich, prosperous, and extraordinarily successful being. I consciously transition from a scarcity mentality to a total abundance mentality. Being successful and rich brings me deep joy, genuine happiness, and inner peace. I always attract the best opportunities to multiply money in my life. I am worthy of being a millionaire, prosperous, and financially free. I am the most abundant, prosperous, and successful creation I know. I am the conscious creator of my abundance, wealth, and infinite prosperity. I am financially free, prosperous, and abundant for the rest of my life. I deeply love money's energy, and money's energy loves me completely. I love wealth in all its forms, expressions, and manifestations. I effortlessly attract all the wealth I need and desire every day. Money is an important and welcome part of my prosperous life. The universe loves me infinitely and always gives me the best. Today is a great day, filled with extraordinary opportunities for abundance. I deserve all the wealth, abundance, and prosperity I desire. Money's energy expands my opportunities and life experiences. I am committed to generating the extraordinary wealth I always dreamed of. I deserve the abundant, prosperous, and rich life I always imagined. Each of these affirmations is an identity declaration. When you repeat them with conviction and feeling, you're literally rewriting the code of your financial reality. You're training your mind to recognize evidence of your natural abundance instead of evidence of limitation. But let me be very clear about something important. These affirmations aren't magic formulas that work automatically. They're transformation tools that require your conscious and consistent participation. When you say, "I am a powerful magnet for wealth," you have to feel the truth of that declaration in your body. You have to vividly visualize what your life would be like if you were really an irresistible magnet for abundance. You have to act like someone who is magnetically attractive to prosperity. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that feeling is the secret. It's not enough to repeat words without emotion. You have to feel the reality of your abundance while declaring your prosperous identity. Feeling is what gives power to affirmations. When you genuinely feel that you're prosperous, when you experience the emotions of abundance, when you live the reality of your success in your internal world, you're creating the magnetic field that attracts that reality to the external world. Let me give you a very powerful practical exercise you can do to accelerate this identity transformation. For the next 30 days, you're going to live completely as your prosperous self. Every morning, before getting out of bed, you're going to spend 10 minutes visualizing yourself as the prosperous person you're declaring to be. You're going to vividly see how you walk, how you talk, how you make decisions, how you interact with the world from your abundance identity. In this visualization, you're going to be very specific. You're going to see exactly how you dress, how you move, how you speak with others. You're going to feel the confidence, tranquility, joy of someone who lives in total abundance. You're going to experience the emotions of your prosperous self. During the day, you're going to act consistently from that identity. When you have to make any decision, you're going to ask yourself, how would my prosperous self act in this situation? And then you're going to act from that perspective. This means making decisions from abundance instead of scarcity. It means speaking from confidence instead of fear. It means walking from dignity instead of insecurity. It means interacting with others from personal power instead of victimization. Before sleeping, you're going to spend another 10 minutes reviewing the day from the perspective of your abundant self. You're going to celebrate all the ways you acted from prosperity. You're going to give thanks for all the evidence of abundance you experienced. At the end of 30 days, you'll have created new neural circuits that support your abundance identity. You'll have trained your nervous system to operate from prosperity. You'll have calibrated your energetic field to magnetize wealth opportunities. But don't stop there. Identity transformation is a continuous process, not a single event. The more time you live from your abundance identity, the more solid and automatic it becomes. Florence Scovel Shinn taught about the importance of persistence in spiritual transformation. She said, "Man must persist until his demonstration is complete." You have to persist in living from your abundance identity until it becomes your automatic and unquestionable reality. Now, I want to share with you something very profound about the nature of identity and manifestation. Your identity isn't just what you think about yourself. Your identity is the vibration you radiate, the energy you emit, the magnetic field you create around you. When you really become someone who is an open channel for infinite abundance, you literally become an energetic channel through which universal abundance can flow into the physical world. You're not trying to get abundance from outside, you're allowing abundance to flow through you from within. This understanding completely changes your relationship with manifestation. You're no longer someone who is trying to attract abundance. You're someone who is abundance, expressing itself in physical form. Let me tell you the story of Carmen, an artist who had struggled financially for years. Carmen had extraordinary talent, but had adopted the common identity among artists that art and money don't go together, and that true artists must suffer for their art. This limiting identity had created a reality of constant scarcity. Carmen lived from job to job, always worried about money, always feeling she had to choose between her artistic integrity and her financial survival. Carmen had internalized the belief that desiring money would somehow compromise her artistic purity. She believed that true artists should be above material concerns, that focusing on money would corrupt their creativity. When Carmen discovered Florence Scovel Shinn's teachings about abundance identity, initially she resisted applying them to her artistic life. It seemed that desiring financial abundance would somehow compromise her artistic purity. But gradually, Carmen began to understand that abundance and creativity aren't opposites, but complementary. She began to see that financial scarcity actually limited her ability to create, not enhanced it. Carmen began declaring, "I am a prosperous and abundant artist. My art is a channel for universal abundance. I deserve to be richly compensated for my creative contribution to the world." The transformation was extraordinary. When Carmen changed her identity from struggling artist to prosperous artist, her art itself began to change. It became more confident, more expressive, more powerful, and financial opportunities began flowing naturally. Carmen discovered that when she no longer had to constantly worry about money, she could dedicate more energy to her creativity. When she felt financially valued, she created more valuable art. When she operated from abundance, she attracted clients who also valued abundance. Galleries that had previously shown no interest began contacting her. Collectors began seeking her work. Lucrative commission opportunities appeared out of nowhere. In 2 years, Carmen had gone from struggling financially to having a waiting list of clients willing to pay premium prices for her art. As Carmen explained to me, "I thought I had to choose between being an authentic artist and being financially successful. But when I changed my identity to prosperous artist, I discovered that financial abundance actually enhanced my creativity instead of limiting it." This story illustrates something very important about abundance identity. It's not about compromising your values or authenticity to get money. It's about recognizing that abundance is your natural right and that you can express your authenticity more fully when you're not limited by financial scarcity. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that wealth is man's natural expression in harmony with divine law. When you're aligned with your true nature, when you live from your authentic abundance identity, wealth flows naturally as an expression of that alignment. Now, I want to address something that's crucial for the success of this practice: the importance of gratitude in identity transformation. When you declare, "I am grateful for every financial blessing," you're not simply being polite to the universe. You're activating one of the most powerful forces for abundance manifestation. Gratitude is the recognition of abundance that already exists in your life. When you're genuinely grateful for what you have, no matter how little it may seem, you're aligning with the vibration of abundance. And from that vibration, you naturally attract more abundance. But gratitude in the context of abundance identity goes beyond thanking for what you have. It's thanking for what you are. It's recognizing and celebrating your abundant nature. It's giving thanks for your infinite capacity to create prosperity. When you say, "I am grateful for the millions I possess," you're not lying about your current situation. You're expressing gratitude for the millions that already exist in the realm of infinite possibilities and are in the process of manifesting in your physical reality. Florence Scovel Shinn taught about the importance of giving thanks for blessings before they manifest physically. She understood that anticipatory gratitude accelerates manifestation because it aligns your vibration with the reality of what you're creating. Let me give you a specific gratitude practice you can use to accelerate your identity transformation. Every night, before sleeping, you're going to write 10 things you're grateful for related to your abundance. Some of these can be tangible things you already have. I'm grateful for having a roof over my head. I'm grateful for having food on my table. I'm grateful for having the ability to earn money. Others can be aspects of your abundant identity. I'm grateful for being a natural magnet for prosperity. I'm grateful for my infinite capacity to create wealth. I'm grateful for being worthy of unlimited abundance. And others can be blessings that are in the process of manifesting. I'm grateful for the extraordinary wealth flowing into my life. I'm grateful for the millionaire opportunities opening for me. I'm grateful for the total financial freedom I'm experiencing. This multidimensional gratitude practice trains your mind to recognize abundance at all levels of your experience. It helps you maintain the vibration of abundance even when your external reality is still changing to reflect your new identity. Now, I want to share with you something very important about the obstacles you might face in this identity transformation. It's very likely that your rational mind, your family, your friends, and your social environment will try to sabotage this process. When you begin acting from an abundance identity, especially if your current financial situation doesn't reflect that identity, people around you may feel uncomfortable. They may try to bring you back to reality with comments like, "Don't be such a dreamer. Be more realistic. People like us don't become rich." These comments aren't necessarily malicious, but they reflect the identity limitations of the people making them. When you maintain an abundance identity in a scarcity environment, you challenge others' limiting beliefs about what's possible. Florence Scovel Shinn taught about the importance of protecting your new identity during the transformation period. She said, "Don't cast your pearls before swine." Don't share your new abundance identity with people who aren't ready to support your transformation. Instead of trying to convince others of the validity of your new identity, simply live it. Let your results speak for you. When people see real transformation in your life, some will feel inspired to explore their own capacity for abundance. But it's also important to understand that not everyone will be ready to celebrate your success. Some people will feel threatened by your transformation because it challenges their own beliefs about what's possible. This is normal and shouldn't stop you on your path to abundance. Let me tell you the story of Miguel, a man who grew up in a family where poverty was seen as virtue and wealth as corruption. Miguel had deeply internalized these beliefs and lived in self-imposed scarcity, feeling guilty every time he desired abundance. Miguel had grown up hearing phrases like, "Money is the root of all evil." "It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven." "Good people don't worry about money." These beliefs had created an identity where poverty was synonymous with virtue and wealth was synonymous with moral corruption. This programming was so deep that Miguel unconsciously sabotaged himself every time he had the opportunity to prosper. When he received better-paying job offers, he found reasons to reject them. When he had promising business ideas, he abandoned them before implementing them. His identity of virtuously poor person didn't allow him to experience abundance. When Miguel began working with abundance identity, he faced tremendous resistance from his family. His parents told him he was becoming materialistic and losing his values. His siblings mocked his prosperity affirmations, telling him he was going crazy with weird ideas. Miguel had to face one of the most difficult decisions of his life: maintain his family's approval or follow his transformation toward abundance. For months he struggled with this tension, feeling divided between his family loyalty and his personal growth. Finally, Miguel made a decision that changed everything. He chose abundance, not because he didn't love his family, but because he understood that living from scarcity served no one. He understood that he could love his family and at the same time choose a different identity for his own life. Miguel began studying the lives of prosperous people who were also generous and contributed positively to the world. He discovered that many millionaires were philanthropists. that many wealthy people use their abundance to create jobs and support noble causes. This helped him reconcile his desire for abundance with his values of contribution. Gradually, as Miguel became more prosperous, something beautiful began to happen. He could contribute more to his family than he ever could from scarcity. He could help his parents financially when they faced health problems. He could create job opportunities for his siblings. He could be a positive force in their lives in ways that wouldn't have been possible from poverty. His abundance hadn't corrupted him as his family had feared. On the contrary, it had empowered him to be more generous, more helpful, more capable of contributing to others' well-being. His prosperity had become a blessing not only for him, but for everyone around him. Eventually, his family began to see that his abundance hadn't corrupted him, but had empowered him to contribute more significantly to everyone's well-being. Some family members even began exploring their own limiting beliefs about money, inspired by Miguel's example. As Miguel told me years later, I had to choose between keeping my family comfortable with my limitations or inspiring them with my possibilities. In the end, my abundance served everyone much better than my scarcity. I discovered you can be prosperous and virtuous at the same time. In fact, prosperity gave me more capacity to be virtuous. This story illustrates something very important about identity transformation. Sometimes you have to be willing to be temporarily misunderstood, to become who you really are. Sometimes you have to be willing to challenge others' expectations, to live your truth. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that man must be willing to give up what he has to receive what he wants. Sometimes what you have to give up isn't just money or possessions, but others' approval and the comfort of staying small. But it's also important to understand that this transformation doesn't require abandoning people you love. It requires maintaining your new identity even when others don't understand it. It requires being faithful to your growth even when it generates discomfort in your environment. Over time, when people see the positive fruits of your transformation, many will begin to support you. When they see that your abundance has made you more generous, not more selfish, they'll begin questioning their own limiting beliefs about wealth. Now, I want to share with you something crucial about the identity transformation process: the importance of patience and faith during the gestation period. When you plant a seed in the earth, you don't expect to see a tree the next day. You understand there's a natural growth process that requires time. The same happens with identity transformation. When you begin living from your new abundance identity, you won't always see immediate changes in your external reality. There's a gestation period where changes are happening internally before manifesting externally. During this period, it's crucial to maintain faith in the process. It's tempting to abandon the practice when you don't see immediate results, but this is exactly the moment when persistence is most important. It's like being in the gym. Muscles are strengthening even before you can see them. Florence Scovel Shinn taught about the importance of acting from the end. This means living as if your transformation were already complete, even when your external reality doesn't yet reflect it. It means maintaining your abundance identity even when your bank account doesn't yet reflect it. Let me tell you the story of Anna, a woman who applied these principles with extraordinary faith. Anna was a single mother with 2 children and worked as a cashier in a supermarket. Her financial situation was very tight, barely enough to cover basic expenses. When Anna discovered the teachings about abundance identity, she made the decision to completely transform her identity, regardless of how long it took to see external results. Every day, for 6 months, she lived as if she were already prosperous, without seeing significant changes in her financial situation. Her friends and family thought she had gone crazy. They saw her acting with confidence that didn't seem justified by her situation. They heard her talking about her abundance plans when she was clearly struggling financially. But Anna maintained her new identity with unwavering faith. In the 7th month, something extraordinary began to happen. Anna received an offer for a better-paying job that came through an unexpected connection. At the same time, a business idea she had been developing began generating income. In the space of 3 months, her financial situation was completely transformed. But the most notable thing was that Anna wasn't surprised by these changes. Her abundance identity was already so solid that external results simply confirmed what she already knew internally, that she was a naturally prosperous person. As Anna explained to me, the 6 months of not seeing results weren't wasted time. They were the time necessary for my new identity to solidify completely. When results came, they came quickly because my identity was already ready to receive them. This story illustrates the importance of patience and persistence in identity transformation. Internal changes always precede external changes. Your job is to maintain your new identity even when your external reality doesn't yet reflect it. Now, as we move toward the end of this transformative journey, I want to leave you with a deep understanding about the true purpose of abundance. Abundance isn't just about having more money. Abundance is about becoming who you really are and fully expressing your unique gifts in the world. When you declare, "I am a being of infinite abundance," you're recognizing your divine nature. You're affirming that you're a unique expression of the infinite universe with unlimited access to all creative possibilities. Financial wealth is simply one of the ways that infinite abundance expresses itself in the physical world. But true abundance includes wealth in relationships, wealth in health, wealth in creativity, wealth in purpose, wealth in contribution. When you live from your total abundance identity, you don't just attract money. You attract opportunities to express your gifts more fully. You attract relationships that support and inspire you. You attract experiences that expand and enrich you at all levels. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the man who knows the truth of his being can never be poor. The truth of your being is that you're infinitely creative, infinitely abundant, infinitely capable of contributing value to the world. When you live from this truth, when your identity is aligned with your divine nature, poverty becomes an impossibility. Not because you're forcing abundance, but because you're allowing your natural abundance to express itself freely. And here's the beauty of this transformation. The more abundant you become, the more you can contribute to others' well-being. The more prosperous you are, the more you can be a positive force in the world. The more wealth you have, the more you can support causes that matter to you. True abundance is never selfish. It's generous, expansive, inclusive. When you really understand your abundant nature, you naturally want others to also experience that abundance. Let me tell you one last story that perfectly illustrates this point. I met an entrepreneur named Carlos who had built a considerable fortune applying these abundance identity principles. But what impressed me most about Carlos wasn't his wealth, but his generosity. Carlos had created a program where he taught these same principles to low-income people, completely free. He had established scholarships for young entrepreneurs. He had created jobs in his community. His abundance had become a source of blessing for thousands of people. As Carlos explained to me, when you really understand that abundance is infinite, you naturally want to share it. My wealth doesn't diminish when I help others prosper. On the contrary, it multiplies. The more abundance I create for others, the more abundance I experience myself. This understanding completely transforms your relationship with wealth. You no longer see abundance as something you have to accumulate and protect. You see it as something you have to circulate and share. You become a channel through which universal abundance can bless the world. So as you practice these identity affirmations, as you transform into your prosperous self, remember, you're not doing it just for yourself. You're doing it to become a clearer channel through which universal abundance can bless the world. Every time you declare, "My life is wonderful and filled with abundance," you're contributing to elevating collective consciousness about what's possible for humanity. Every time you live from your prosperity identity, you're being an example of what's possible when someone aligns with their divine nature. Your personal transformation becomes a global contribution. Your individual abundance becomes a collective blessing. Your personal prosperity becomes universal inspiration. Now I want to leave you with a final practice you can use to completely integrate everything you've learned. For the next 90 days, you're going to live as if you were already the prosperous person you're declaring to be. Every morning, you're going to begin the day declaring your abundance identity. I am a being of infinite abundance. My life is wonderful and filled with prosperity. I multiply my wealth in everything I do. I was born to be rich, prosperous, and extraordinarily successful. During the day, you're going to act consistently from that identity. You're going to make decisions from abundance. You're going to interact with the world from prosperity. You're going to radiate the confidence and dignity of someone who knows they're naturally prosperous. Every night, you're going to give thanks for all the ways you experienced abundance during the day. You're going to celebrate every evidence of your prosperous nature. You're going to affirm your gratitude for the wealth flowing into your life. At the end of 90 days, you'll have completed a fundamental identity transformation. You'll no longer be someone trying to become prosperous. You'll be someone who is prosperous, expressing that prosperity in increasingly expansive ways. But remember, this transformation doesn't end in 90 days. It's a continuous process of growth, expansion, and fuller expression of your abundant nature. The more time you live from your abundance identity, the deeper and more automatic it becomes. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the kingdom of heaven is within you. The kingdom of infinite abundance is within you. Your job isn't to create it, but to recognize it, reclaim it, and express it. So begin now. Begin in this moment. Declare your abundance identity with total conviction. My life is wonderful and filled with infinite abundance. I am a naturally prosperous being. Wealth is my divine right and my natural experience. Feel the truth of these words in your body. Vividly visualize what your life would be like if these declarations were completely true. Act like the prosperous person you're declaring to be. Your new life of abundance begins now with the next word you speak about yourself. May it be a word of power, a word of prosperity, a word that opens the floodgates of infinite abundance that is your divine inheritance. Trust the process. Trust your abundant nature. Trust your capacity to create the prosperous life you deserve. Because as Florence Scovel Shinn taught us with such wisdom, the man who knows the truth of his being can never be poor, because wealth is his divine inheritance. And that divine inheritance is waiting for you to claim it, to live it, to express it fully in the world. Your time of abundance is now. Your moment of prosperity is this moment. So it is, and so it shall be. Abundance is yours. Prosperity belongs to you. You are a being of infinite wealth expressing itself in human form. And it all begins with the identity you choose to embrace in this sacred moment. I am abundant. I am prosperous. I am rich. I am free. So it is, and so it shall be. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Your transformation toward infinite abundance isn't just a personal change. It's a sacred contribution to the evolution of human consciousness. Every time you choose to live from your prosperity identity, you're helping create a world where abundance is the norm, not the exception. Florence Scovel Shinn understood that when a person completely aligns with their abundant nature, they become a beacon of possibility for others. Your success doesn't just benefit you, but inspires others to recognize their own capacity for abundance. Let me tell you one final story that perfectly illustrates the transformative power of living from your total abundance identity. I met a woman named Isabella who had been abandoned by her husband with 3 small children and no financial resources. Most people in her situation would have adopted the identity of victim, of struggling single mother, of abandoned woman without options. But Isabella had deeply studied Florence Scovel Shinn's teachings. Instead of allowing her circumstances to define her identity, she made the conscious decision to live from abundance, regardless of what she was experiencing externally. Isabella understood something profound, that her children were watching how she responded to this crisis. She could teach them they were victims of circumstances, or she could teach them they were creators of their reality. She chose to teach them the power of abundance identity. Every morning, while preparing her children for school with the few resources she had, Isabella declared, "I am a prosperous and abundant mother. My children and I live in total abundance. I am a powerful magnet for all the blessings we need. The universe provides for us abundantly in all ways. Her children initially didn't understand why their mother talked about abundance when they were clearly struggling financially. But Isabella persisted, not just in words, but in acting from that abundance identity. When she had to make decisions about her children's education, she didn't choose from limitation, but from the vision of what was best for them. When she had to decide about work opportunities, she didn't choose from desperation, but from confidence in her value. Isabella refused to accept jobs that weren't aligned with her abundance identity. Instead of taking any employment out of desperation, she waited for opportunities that recognized her true value. This decision required extraordinary faith, but Isabella maintained her identity even in the most difficult moments. Something extraordinary began to happen. Isabella began attracting opportunities that seemed impossible for someone in her situation. She received a full scholarship to study a master's degree in business administration. While studying, she started a small home business that grew rapidly. But the most notable thing was how her children began to change. Instead of developing a victim mentality from their situation, they developed extraordinary confidence in their ability to create abundance. They saw their mother transform an apparently impossible situation into prosperity through the power of her identity. Isabella's children learned that external circumstances don't determine internal reality. They learned that identity is more powerful than circumstances. They learned they can choose who to be regardless of what's happening around them. 5 years later, Isabella had built a multi-million-dollar company. Her children had grown up with a deep understanding of their own capacity for abundance. But most importantly, Isabella had become a living example that circumstances don't determine destiny, identity does. As Isabella told me years later, "My children don't remember the difficult days as days of scarcity. They remember them as the days when they learned we are beings of infinite abundance, regardless of what's happening externally. That was the most valuable gift I could give them." This story illustrates something profound about the legacy of living from your abundance identity. You don't just transform your own life, but you influence everyone around you. You become a living example of what's possible when someone completely aligns with their prosperous nature. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that every man is a center of divine radiation. When you live from your abundance identity, you radiate that abundance toward the world. Your energetic field becomes a blessing for everyone who comes into contact with you. Now, I want to give you a final understanding about the eternal nature of this transformation. Once you really become someone who lives from abundance, that identity becomes permanent. It's not something you can lose, because it becomes who you are at the soul level. There may be temporary fluctuations in your external financial situation, but your abundance identity remains constant. You know you can create prosperity from any starting point because you've developed abundance consciousness. This abundance consciousness is your true wealth. It's more valuable than any amount of money because it's the source from which all money flows. It's your direct connection to the infinite abundance of the universe. When you declare for the last time, "I am a being of infinite abundance," you're not saying it as an affirmation you hope will become true. You're saying it as recognition of what you've always been and always will be. Your abundance doesn't depend on external economic conditions. It doesn't depend on others' approval. It doesn't depend on perfect circumstances. Your abundance is an expression of your divine nature, and that nature is eternal and unchangeable. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that man is the image and likeness of God, therefore he is perfect. Your perfection includes your natural abundance. Your divinity includes your inherent prosperity. Your true identity is abundance itself, expressing in human form. As you close this chapter of your transformation and open the next chapter of your abundant life, remember you've received one of the most precious gifts that exists: knowledge of your true identity. You're no longer someone seeking abundance. You're someone who is abundance. You're no longer someone waiting for prosperity. You're someone who is prosperity. You're no longer someone desiring wealth. You're someone who is wealth expressing consciously. This understanding changes everything. It changes how you walk through the world. It changes how you make decisions. It changes how you interact with opportunities. It changes how you respond to challenges. It changes who you are at a fundamental level. And from this new identity of total abundance, you'll create a life that reflects that abundance in all its forms. Not just financial wealth, but wealth in love, wealth in health, wealth in purpose, wealth in contribution, wealth in joy. Your life will become a living demonstration of what's possible when a human being completely aligns with their divine nature. You'll become an inspiration to others, an example that infinite abundance isn't just a spiritual concept, but a practical reality available to everyone. So go now and live your abundance. Express your prosperity. Manifest your wealth. Share your gifts. Contribute your unique value to the world. Be the abundant being you've always been destined to be. The universe is waiting to see the complete expression of your abundance. The world needs what only you can offer from your unique prosperity. Your moment is now. Your time is this moment. Declare once more with total conviction, "My life is wonderful and filled with infinite abundance. I am a naturally prosperous being. I multiply my wealth in everything I do. Abundance flows through me into the world. I am a divine channel of infinite prosperity." Feel these words resonate in every cell of your body. Allow this truth to anchor in the deepest part of your being. Completely embrace your total abundance identity. Your new life begins now. Your infinite abundance expresses now. Your divine prosperity manifests now. So it is, and so it shall be, for all eternity. Thank you, universe, for the infinite abundance that I am. Thank you for the eternal prosperity I express. Thank you for the divine wealth I manifest. I am abundance. I am prosperity. I am infinite wealth expressing consciously. And so it is. Amen. When you truly understand that money is energy, that your words are creative forces, that your relationship with spending determines your relationship with receiving, everything changes. You stop being a victim of financial circumstances and become a conscious creator of your economic reality. Florence Scovel Shinn lived through some of the most challenging economic times in modern history, yet she never wavered in her understanding that abundance is the natural state of the universe. She saw beyond appearances of lack and limitation to the eternal truth of infinite supply. This is the consciousness you're developing. This is the awareness you're cultivating. Every time you live from abundance identity, every time you declare that you are naturally prosperous, you're aligning yourself with this eternal truth. You're stepping into your role as a conscious co-creator with the infinite intelligence of the universe. Remember, this isn't about positive thinking or wishful hoping. This is about understanding and applying universal laws that are as reliable as the law of gravity. When you drop something, it falls down. When you live from genuine abundance identity with faith, prosperity flows to you. It's not magic in the supernatural sense. It's the natural operation of a universe that responds to consciousness. The transformation you're experiencing isn't just personal. Every person who learns to live from abundance instead of scarcity contributes to raising humanity's collective consciousness. You become a beacon of possibility, showing others there's another way to relate to money and life. Your journey with money is really a journey of spiritual awakening. It's about remembering who you truly are, an infinite being temporarily having a human experience, connected to unlimited creative power, deserving of all good things. As you continue this practice, as you deepen your understanding of these principles, as you witness the miraculous changes in your financial reality, remember to share this wisdom with others. The universe multiplies what we share with love and generosity. Florence Scovel Shinn's teachings have survived and thrived for over a century because they contain timeless truths about the nature of reality and human potential. You are now part of this lineage of wisdom, carrying forward these transformative principles into your own life and into the world. The declaration, "My life is wonderful and filled with abundance," is more than words. It's a recognition of your divine nature, an affirmation of universal abundance, and a command to the creative forces of existence. Speak it with power, live it with conviction, trust it with your whole heart, and watch as your life transforms in ways more beautiful and abundant than you ever dared imagine. Your prosperity consciousness is awakening. Your abundance is manifesting. Your financial freedom is unfolding. And it all begins with the sacred recognition that you are, have always been, and will always be a being of infinite abundance expressing in human form. This is your time. This is your moment. This is your transformation. Embrace it fully, live it completely, and let your life become a testament to the infinite abundance that is your divine inheritance. The kingdom of abundance is within you. Your work isn't to create it, but to recognize it, claim it, and express it boldly in the world. Your prosperity isn't coming to you. It's flowing through you. You are not seeking abundance. You are abundance seeking expression. From this moment forward, every breath you take is a breath of prosperity. Every word you speak is a word of abundance. Every step you take is a step into greater wealth. Every decision you make is a decision from infinite possibility. You are abundant. You are prosperous. You are wealthy beyond measure. And this truth is expressing itself more fully in your life with each passing moment. So it is, and so it shall always be. Welcome to your abundant life. Welcome to your prosperous reality. Welcome to the full expression of who you've always been destined to be. The universe celebrates your awakening to abundance. The world rejoices in your prosperity. And you, magnificent being of infinite wealth, are finally home in the truth of your abundant nature. Blessed be your abundance. Blessed be your prosperity. Blessed be your infinite wealth, expressing consciously and joyfully in the world. And so it is, now and forever. Amen.